This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
Bro, gnarly.
What's up, Taylor?
Dude, that nerd in his electric hybrid totally blew the light while texting his yuppie friends.
That's so bogus, bro. Are you hurt?
Yeah, like I can't move my hips, bro. I think I broke my pelvis, man.
Dude, no way.
Taylor, you need to drop a dime and talk with the lawyers at the Advocates Law Firm.
No way, can't afford that, bro.
Your crotch is broken, man, and they don't earn any money unless they win your case.
Dude, no way.
You get injured, the advocates get results. Contact them today at advocateslaw.com.
What's up? It's your boy, The Ted Smith. Thanks for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast. Want more? Check out the greatest podcast in all the land, The Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday night.
99.9 KISW. We return to the men's room with Miles and Thrill.
KISW presenting the roast to Steve Miggs. And it's going down Friday night, April 15th. We'll see you at Snoqualmie Casino. That is going to be a great night. Steve's going to get roasted live on stage.
Yes, he is.
In front of you guys. Also, Glenn Cameron and Damage Done will be playing as well. So we got live music as well. Some KISW personalities will be roasting as well. Some very special guest roasters.
That is correct.
All of the different aspects of Steve's world coming together for one night.
Why does this sound like we own a coffee place? Guest roasters. Flown in from around the world.
It's an Ethiopian, Glenn. Yes. Those tickets are on sale now at KISW.com, and keep in mind that a portion of net proceeds go to our friends at Smash Seattle. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see you up at the Roast of Steve Miggs, Friday night, April 15th. That's going to be a good time. All right, here's our random question. Question 206-421-ROCK.
Random.
Hello, Joshua. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
Joshua, welcome to the program. Random question. Okay, let's go with this one. Kind of a strange question, but who would you say has had the nicest home that you have ever been in? Where just like you walk in, you're like, man, look at this place. This is insane.
I used to work at a nice restaurant, and I did a private catering event at Jeff Bezos' house.
Okay. Right. How next level is a Bezos household?
Pretty much everything from the bathroom to every room in the house clearly bled FU money.
Oh, really? Yeah. Was it a large house?
It was massive. Like you walk in and it feels like a museum.
Okay, was it on the water?
Yes.
Okay.
What are the kinds of things that kind of blew you away, though? Whether it's a piece of art hanging on the wall or just the shape of a sofa. I mean, what are the things that really, really caught your eye?
So we served the dinner in his library/art gallery, and he had an actual ship from the Star Wars movie hanging from the ceiling.
Jesus Christ. I mean, if I had his money, I would too. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's kind of cool that you have that in the library, too.
Yeah.
It just belongs in the library where important things are.
Yeah, how do you make the decision? All right, baby, listen, I bought that, the actual Star Wars ship I said I was going to buy. What room do you think this goes in? You know, what really, you go, ooh, this is what we need.
Because guys with that kind of crap, they typically have their own little, room that they can put their stuff in, but everything else is like, no, you're not putting it in here. No.
Even at that, no.
It doesn't matter, no.
Jeffrey, put it in the library.
Doesn't matter how rich you are, doesn't matter who you are, man. If you got something, the wife looks at it and goes, no. It's not going in the house.
At least not in a place, like you said, only a place I have one little teeny tiny music room in the basement, right? It's the smallest room in the house. The furnace is in there. That's where my crap is. That inevitably is where you will find my signed Kiss Love Gun gold record thing. She's like, I'm glad you have it. I'm glad that you're excited about it. I don't ever, and these were the words, I just don't ever want to see it. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
All my stuff is relegated to places where you can't see. It's like I've got an autographed Justin Bieber poster. It's in my bathroom.
Yeah.
So every time I'm taking a crap, guess what I look at?
The Biebs.
The Biebs.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I was at a holiday party probably a few years back in the Issaquah area, and this house was absolutely amazing. I mean, the family was a very large family, very successful and very wealthy. There was an indoor pool.
Damn.
And it was kind of like, it was a long indoor pool. It wasn't Olympic size, but it was the biggest indoor lap pool I've ever seen.
All right.
It's like, what, narrower but longer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And it was in this amazing hallway with, like, glass ceiling, for outside, and then open air sliders so that the pool could basically go from being an indoor pool
to an outdoor pool.
Sure. Right there on the deck. You know what I mean? All you needed to do was pull all that glass aside, and you were standing out right near where a fire pit was, an outdoor kitchen, and it was just, I couldn't, just even like looking at the stairwell when you walked into the home, like I couldn't imagine, like, do I got to climb all the way down those steps if I wake up at 11:30, want to get a cup of milk or, a glass of water, whatever the deal is. It was impressive. It was a lot, but that is probably one of the nicest homes I've ever been in.
I think my parents had friends. This couple had bought an old chapel and then converted it into a house. So it was a really nice house. But part of it's because it used to be a chapel, right? So the ceilings are, mile high and all that kind of thing. And their design was really, really cool. What they did. But I'm kind of like, yeah, but it used to be a chapel. So it's very nice, but I feel like you kind of cheated.
But you told me you went to that one, the wedding that was up in New England, Nantucket?
Oh, God, right. So
Cape Cod,
but I can't even say that the house was that nice. It wasn't not nice.
The Hamptons.
It was in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
And I'd heard of them, but I was unfamiliar with what the Hamptons actually meant. And this chick was getting married. I did not realize that this is where she had come from. Because when I knew her, she's a broke-ass art student, right? And we all were, not art students, but all broke-ass. That's why we lived in the same row house that had been divided into 6 apartments kind of thing. So she says, hey, we're getting married. We knew her pretty well. We've known her for like 3 years. We're like, cool. It's up in New York State. We're like, no problem. We'll take the train up there, rent a car. And so we get there. We're trying to follow these directions. And I remember making the comment like, man, it seems awfully nice. But I'm still not quite clicking with what's going on. And when you get to the final driveway, it's a gated driveway, but there's an armed guard at the end of this driveway, right? Which I thought was crazy. And if your name was not on the list, he wasn't in the mood to play. We were on the list. You drive down this driveway, which is longer than any driveway I've seen. There's only 4 houses there. We find out later that their neighbor, for lack of a better term, was the heir to crap. I can't remember. It was like the heir to Ford or the heir to Milton Bradley, but it's some company that does just fine. They had nothing to do with it, but they still had all the money. And then, so anyway, this girl who's getting married, it's her mom's house in the Hamptons. And like I said, the house itself was not extraordinary, but their yard was crazy. Our mom pointed out that every rose in this garden, each individual rose, all right, there's 200 roses. She's telling me this. Each one is different. And I looked at her and I said, how do you know? Because I'm looking at them. And like, maybe they told you that, but as you're trying to get the story without just asking, you come to find out that her mother was an immigrant from Liechtenstein, all right, and she had come to America. She was a single mom. She has 2 kids. Her daughter, Nina, is one of them. She went to downtown Manhattan to look for work to support her family. Right. When she's in downtown Manhattan, a construction crane fell off the top of a building and landed on top of her. They read her last rites 3 times. It was all over the news when it happened. They made a reference to it in the movie City Slickers toward the beginning. Construction workers were bitching about something. But the thing they bitched about was this actual story, which was her mother, just because insurance rates went up, all this stuff. Anyway, she got $20 million a year, every year, for as long as she's going to live. That's what the city paid out after all of this is done. So she went from looking to, and keep in mind, so she never actually had a job. I pointed that out. Right. I'm like, oh, so you don't work. But well, she didn't. She went looking for a job. She got hit by a crane, $20 million a year, every year for the rest of her life. You go to this house. So now we're in the Hamptons. So one day we decide we're going to drive into Hamptons proper, right? The little downtown area. It is like all Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all this kind of crap. Everyone there is beautiful. And as a friend of mine pointed out, he goes, oh, that's what happens when you eat 3 square meals a day. I mean, everybody. Right. So we wanted to stop at the ATM. Their minimum withdrawal was $300, all right? This is probably back in 1996, 97-ish. I did not have enough money in my account to even make a withdrawal from the ATM. Yeah. I'm like, this is insane. But where her mom put us up in the house, we weren't in the house, we're in the garage, detached garage. But she says, my daughter says that you like beer. I'm like, oh, yeah, man, I like beer. So she opens this garage door, and I can't explain it. Do you remember the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
When the boxes and all that stuff.
And it's just this massive warehouse. Dude, I mean, but just picture cases of beer just stacked. It's for the wedding, but just stacked on top of each other as far back as you could see. I almost wept. And then there was a room that we stayed in above that. I did everything because she said, help yourself to all the beer you can. And I mean, I was like in a constant, because I wasn't doing shots and anything like that. I wanted to behave a little bit, but I was in a constant state of happy beer drunk.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never seen that much money, man. But she had a private beach, all this stuff. But oddly, with all that said, she had the most expensive property, definitely had the nicest yard, but the house itself, I'm not kidding. It was all right.
Nicest house I've ever seen from the outside. I had a situation where I was working at a radio station in Annapolis, Maryland, and I was working for 2 different companies at the same time. And the way it worked out was that the one guy, Pat Sajak from Wheel of Fortune, he bought the radio station. Well, the way that our radio station had worked at the time, we were on a pay period schedule that was like, we got paid on the 15th of the month, and then we got paid on the last day of the month that was closest to the weekend. So it was, bi-monthly. Well, the company that he was a part of that took over, they were every 2 weeks. Now, we were supposed to get our paychecks, and there was about a handful of us, like 6 or 7 people that did not get their paychecks. So I called over to talk to the office manager at this other radio station, WNAV, and say, hey, Sandy, we didn't get our checks over here. We need to get our checks. There's like 6 people walking around here. We didn't get paid. Well, I left a message. Turns out she's on vacation.
Uh-oh.
So, and I called back again. So I talked to somebody else, and they're like, well, we'll try to figure it out, but we'll get a hold of you, leave your number, blah, blah, blah. So I get home one night, and I get in the door, and there's a message on my answering machine from Pat Sajak. He's like, hey, Miles, I'm sorry about the confusion. We are trying to integrate everything, and, until
the fact that he called you directly.
Called me individually.
Yeah.
He said, call me in the morning. So I called him in the morning, and I'm like, oh, this is nuts. He's like, where do you live? I'm like, I live just up the road from Annapolis. I'm in Severna Park. He says, well, I live just down the road from you. Why don't you come down and pick up the checks on the way into work, and I'll give them to you.
From Pat Sajak's house.
Right. So I go to this place called Gibson Island.
This
little private so there's a gate, there's a guard, there's all this stuff. I'm driving a Nissan Sentra that has rust on it. It is.
They know you don't belong.
It is not good. Right. I pull up to the gate. And I tell him my name. They're like, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, his house is the 4th one down on the left, whatever. And I'm driving through this neighborhood, just looking to my left and my right. And I mean, it is insane how huge these homes were and how big they were. So not only when he let me through, he must have called his house and said, hey, you're
I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. So I pull up to this house, and it's got another gate. All right, and keep in mind the driveway on this home is probably 100 yards long. Like, it was just like They were really far set back. They were set back on the water, but it was like this huge, and here's Pat Sajak just walking down the driveway with flip-flops on. He's got a pink polo on.
That sounds about right.
He's wearing khaki shorts. He's got the typical Ray-Ban sunglasses on with a baseball hat on. He walks up. He's like, hey, man, nice to meet you, blah, 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 blah. And he hands me like 7 different envelopes with people's...
So you're in charge of all the checks now.
I got everybody's check.
All right.
I just picked him up and said, hope to see you soon. Nice to meet you, whatever. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. And I like pulled out of there and just like, so every time I see him on television now, even to this day, I just think to myself, I drove up to that guy's house and he walked down the driveway like, doot, 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 doot.
That's important to the story. That he's okay with you being there.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was just like, this is insane. But the house was, I mean, I can't imagine what it looked like on the inside, but you could see through the house to the backside to the Chesapeake Bay.
Right.
So, like, by looking from the front of the house, you could see it was open enough where you could see through it. I was just like, man, this is...
That's what happens when you host the same game show forever.
Yeah. Well, my buddy's dad has a very nice house on Lake Sammamish. But same thing. It's, like, the house itself is nice, the property, but, like, the inside of it, like... I remember the first time I went there, I was like, this is the nicest carpet I've ever put my feet on.
Mm-hmm. Even the carpet was nice.
Yeah, and there's, like, a hot tub outside that you can go in the wintertime and everything. I mean, they have all these different rooms and stuff, but just... The house itself, and also they're very friendly.
Yeah.
So, like, when I get invited over, it's always like, no, come in, like, swim in the lake, hang out, whatever. I mean, it is awesome. But I would have to say, for my money, it's probably the nicest home I've been inside of.
Okay.
The reason we asked, nicest house you've been in, real estate prices are insane right now. It doesn't get any more insane than this. A mega mansion in L.A., nicknamed The One, just sold at auction over the weekend for $126 million. The crazy part is that's less than half of the asking price of $295 million. It was built by a real estate developer. He started building it in Bel Air almost a decade ago. Hoped to sell it for $500 million. Then his company defaulted on $165 million in debt, so bankruptcy. The court took over the bankruptcy court. Now it's still not clear who bought it, but with a closing cost and commission, they're actually paying about $141 million. Here's what you get for $141 million. The mansion itself is 105,000 square feet on 4 acres of land overlooking Hollywood. 21 bedrooms, 42 bathrooms, plus 7 half baths. 50 indoor parking spaces, 5 pools, a movie theater, a bowling alley, a golf simulator room, bless you, a salon and spa, and a 10,000 square foot sky deck. The listing is still up on Zillow if you want to check it out, with 20% down, by the way.
Oh, is that all?
The mortgage would be just under $600,000 a month.
Oof. A month?
Yeah, a month. Property taxes each month are $80,000 to live in this house.
So even if you could buy the house, you still have to have another $680,000 a month to cover the things that
That's
go
before
with.
you even pay an electric bill.
Somebody, you're talking about nice houses. This is, hey guys, what about Hair Club's friend in New Orleans, the ex-Metallica man?
Oh yeah, that was another. You know what? It's almost like it's not a place where someone would live. It's almost like you just walk back in time. And it's not that it's not a nice new house, but keep in mind that every single thing in that home is to spec, for the most part, how it was when it was built in the 1800s.
Because it's in the French Quarter, and so there's a lot of rules architecturally about what you can do if it's in the French Quarter.
You can't have a hot tub. You know what I'm saying? You can't have, there's no fluorescent lights in this place. Like, if you wanted to change the doorknob, you've got to go down to basically an antique dealer's store and match that doorknob. But you have to bring another one. Then you have to match.
But it has to be certified. It can't be a rep. They were telling us this. They said, like, look, man, it's literally the doorknob to the front of our house. We had to replace it, but you had to go through something through the city where they indicate what it is, and then you take that to the specific place that has it.
The front door had a skeleton key. It did not have a bolt lock. Now, there was a gate, like an iron rod gate that was in front of the actual door.
Right.
Now, that might have had something a little bit more security-wise.
Sure, well,
but as far as the actual door to the front, it was a skeleton key door. It was just, I mean, so it's not that it's not nice.
Like the key to the front of your house is like 4 inches long, right? I mean, like you're getting
if you go to dinner, you stick that damn thing in your pocket and you go to dinner. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's seriously as well. Like,
so it's not that it's not. And there was a beautiful garden courtyard in the middle of it, and there were balconies on the inside on the second floor, so that overlooked an open air area. So in other words, if it's raining outside, it's raining in your living room. It's raining right in the middle of your home. You know, just like because it's open air, there are trees. You know, there are flowers. It was very French. You know what I mean? It was.
And to put it in perspective, I want you to understand: this was not Metallica's ex-manager. This was Metallica's manager's boss's house.
Also, like this guy, Muse and Tool.
So the guy we were hanging out with was the manager for Tool and Metallica at the time, and he still might be one of the.
He is for Metallica.
For Metallica,
because he just did that show down in Vegas.
This was the guy that he answers to. And you would never know. The guy was cool, as like long hair, old dude, been around the block, but he started telling us stories, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
We had no idea, but there was a picture of him with Metallica. I just kept staring at it. Like, when'd you meet them? He's like, they work for me. Right. Like, oh, damn.
Yeah, that guy.
All right, man.
That guy.
Oh, yeah, like he could call them, and if he said, Lars, you need to fly your ass out here. Not like, Lars is going to fly out there. Like, he was the guy.
That guy that took us down there to that house, he put on the Metallica show in Vegas. He comped 80 tickets to his friends and people that he knew and stuff like that so they could all go there and party. He invited Castle, of course, and didn't invite us probably because we got so drunk the last time we saw him. I am not dealing with him in Vegas.
Nah, he won't.
There's no way. Maybe another city, someplace else.
Maybe.
But I am not putting up with their crap.
No. Not for a business.
Well, because it amps up even more.
Oh yeah.
In Vegas.
In Vegas.
At Metallica.
You guys were fired up at a dinner party.
Right, exactly.
Right, now it's
Yes, we were.
Right, let's take them to the belly of the beast. I'm sure they'll be fine.
More of the random question coming up. 206-421-ROCK.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
Well, great balls of fire, Bubba.
What happened, Buford?
That crazy son of a Sal blew right through that four-way stop on Main Street and plowed into my cowboy Cadillac.
Your what?
My pickup truck. And I'm pretty sure my leg is broken, Ted.
Oh, quit your bitching, Buford, and talk with those side busters at the Advocates Law Firm. When I got busted up last month, well, shoot, they made sure those snakes at the insurance company played fair.
Boy, howdy. Even that creepy so-and-so Kyle earned his keep.
So if you get injured, the advocates get results. AdvocatesLaw.com.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process. except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Random question. 206-421-ROCK.
Hello, Tony. Welcome to the men's room.
Random.
Hola. Tony, welcome to the program. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Good day out.
All right. I'm going to ask you a multi-layered question here. Let's see here. Someone polled a bunch of people to find out how many Americans believe in supernatural stuff, all right?
All right.
And the short answer is a lot of people believe in supernatural stuff. So I'm going to ask you 5 different supernatural things. You tell me if you believe in them or not. Okay. We'll start with number 1. That would be ghosts. Do you believe that ghosts are real?
In a way of form, yes.
Okay. So you do. In what form do you believe they exist in?
I mean, maybe nothing that can really interact with us, but you ever had those feelings that, like, someone's watching you or, something moves or something like that?
All right, I got you. A lot of the times, Tony, it is, in fact, me watching you. I know it's creepy, but it's just me.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Excellent.
Okay. Do you guys believe in ghosts? Do you guys think ghosts are real?
I don't know. Because my wife will insist that she saw one, and she's not a woman to be prone to such things. And from her perspective, she's like, look, I did not believe in it. I saw it, and her friend both saw it, and I think she said it looked like, according to her friend, it may have been like her grandfather or something like that, but she said it freaked her the F out.
Well, here's the thing. If there's new construction, they're put in 4 townhomes, right? Ghost doesn't live there. So if you go to the East Coast, there's so many old buildings, there's so much history involved. It seems like there's more ghost stories based on what has happened there historically. Like, I knew a lot of people who were from that area in Pennsylvania where
Gettysburg.
Yeah, where my one buddy would say, like, he'd spend the night at his wife's parents' home and swears to God that there were ghosts in the basement of this old farmhouse there.
Oh, yeah, you told me about it. But they were, like, friendly or something like that.
This is a no BS guy. Like, This is a guy that's not, he does not believe that kind of crap. But he was thoroughly 100% convinced that every time he goes there, he stays in a haunted house. Believe it or not, 36% of Americans believe the ghosts are real. That includes 28% of men and 44% of women. All right, Tony.
I would think that it would track with religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're depending what your religion is, of course. But if you don't believe in ghosts, there's a problem with a whole lot of things, right?
All right, Tony. Next up is demons. Do you believe in demons?
Not really.
Okay, 37% said yes. Women are more likely to believe that demons are real. I'm not sure what that looks like.
What's the difference?
A ghost is the disembodied something of something that has existed on Earth. So you could have the ghost of your cat because it once lived here, or the ghost of a relative that once lived. A spirit is something that exists solely on a different plane.
Okay.
All right. So a demon would be something. It would be a spirit. It is not the disembodied anything. That is just what it is.
I feel like I'm more apt to believe you could see a spirit as opposed to a ghost.
Okay.
But I'm not saying one way or the other what I feel about ghosts. Because you're right, Gettysburg's creepy as hell.
All right, what about werewolves? Tony, do you believe in werewolves?
Oh, no way. No way.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, 7% of people think they're real. It's the first one where men are more likely to say yes. More men think that werewolves actually exist.
Really?
8%.
I don't think they do. I know they can hoop.
All right, yeah.
Only in their teens.
How about vampires?
No, not at all.
All right, 7% of Americans believe that vampires are real.
No.
And the final one is, Tony, psychics. Do you think that they are legit in giving you an outlook that's going to be something that's going to happen in your future?
Doubtful. If they were psychic, they'd probably be, playing lottery tickets, not, trying to bum $20 off me to read my fortune.
All right. 37% of people think they're legit, 46% of women, and 28% of men believe that psychics are accurate in their assessment of you. There's a psychic place that's been in Fremont since I have lived there. Mm-hmm. And that place is still open. And is of all the different places that have come and gone, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've had the same thought as you. Just, there's been an economic downturn This bar was always packed. It's no longer here. This restaurant did great business. It's no longer here. This psychic joint that I have never seen anyone walk in or out
Still there.
and the lights are still
Open
on.
sign at 11 o'clock at night on a Monday. You know what I mean? You can go in there.
What is your secret to surviving this?
I'm not sure.
What is your secret to staying open even in the best of times? But certainly right now, you know, it's like,
I guess not a lot of overhead. You know what I mean? Once you buy the tarot cards, you got the tarot card.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, I guess, but you're right. The ones I could think of, like, they've survived everything.
Everything.
I mean, hell, there's one in the town I grew up in, College Park. And, like, we drive by, and, like, that town has completely changed. Mm-hmm. And there's this old house that does psychic readings, and it's still there.
It's incredible. It's almost like they can predict the future. They know how to take care of their, get the right location.
We know when to save money. Yeah.
Random.
Hello, Nathan. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola.
All right, Nathan, I'm going to ask you a tricky one here, but I think you can do it. All right? Okay. In your lifetime, in person, who would you say has the biggest penis that you've ever seen?
Oh, man. In person?
In person.
Well, like when I was little, going to the swimming pool and everything was all like communal bathing everywhere and stuff. Like, I remember seeing my dad, and I was like, oh, God. But,
well, he's also an adult at that point, yeah.
Yeah, and I was younger, you know, but I give the cat the old man.
Okay.
But I remember I back when I lived in my car for like 6 months when I was like 22 or something. And I had an interview for a job, and I just needed to go take a shower somewhere, so I could go get this job. And I ended up getting it and being able to, you know, work my way out of everything. But I had to go to this homeless shelter to take a shower, and they weren't really supposed to let me in, but they figured that, you know, this guy's trying to get a job, so they let me in. And I go back there, and it's just like these big swinging black dudes back there, you know. And I was like, God damn, I'm just going to wash. I have real long hair, you know. I was like, I'm just going to wash my hair and do my thing. And this big brother comes up to me, and he looks at me and says, hey. And I was like, yeah, what's up, man? He says, hey, I think you need this more than I do because I just cut my hair. And he hands me like the thickest Afro pick I've ever seen. I just walked off.
Nice. All right. It's a tough question to answer because you got to go back in time to like when you were in maybe organized sports or whatever the deal is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Outside
you never
of porn,
you never really see men naked. You know, you do accidentally. I've seen again some people who are having some episodes downtown. I saw one guy.
Yes, I've seen more naked people downtown than anywhere.
I was like, man, he's really skinny, but he's packing. You know what I'm saying?
Richard Sherman.
All right. Oh yeah, you saw Sherman naked.
I mean, it was
I wish people could see your face. Like it's like, oh my God.
Was that was the one thing that was like burned into your brain? Like you had all these other great experiences.
That and Jimmy Graham, but I didn't see his junk. But he was just sitting out of the hot tub. Like I think he had on shorts,
right? Mm-hmm.
But I've never seen a man that large, that shredded, right? And he's just like sitting there with the water line. You know, like you can hold like the water like right there, and he's just like, how you guys doing? I just got scared. I just started looking at my feet, shuffling around. Like, I'm fine, Jimmy. Like, I'm gonna get out of here.
Good seeing you.
What a man should look like.
Have you seen Sherman's penis?
Right. Yeah, but back to back, right? You walk in to the locker room, there's Sherm hanging out, and then you walk in there, and there's Jimmy hanging out. I'm just like, Jesus, I'm not a man.
Ted wept quietly in the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
So the team consoled him. It's okay, man.
Follow along on this one.
We'll go upstairs and get a snack, Ted?
It's not so bad, dude. Not so bad.
This takes a little while to get there, but who has the biggest D you've ever seen? This happens in Chicago. A former attorney for the city of Chicago is suing Mayor Lori Lightfoot for defamation after she allegedly berated a group of lawyers during a heated meeting over the removal of a Christopher Columbus statue. Follow along. The statue was removed in July of 2020 following unrest over the murder of George Floyd. Now, under Lightfoot's orders, crews used a large crane to remove the statue from its pedestal in Grant Park, following a week after protesters tried to topple the monument and they were clashing with police. The lawsuit was filed by former Chicago Park District Counsel General George Simotris, who said Lightfoot blocked a deal with the Italian-American group to display the statue in the Columbus Day Parade.
Okay.
He says and claims that she berated the lawyers who struck the deal, asking them which law school they attended or if they even went to law school. The suit claims the insults defamed him by insinuating that he lacked the ability to perform his duties. The lawsuit also claims the mayor used obscene language and called the lawyers D's. The mayor allegedly made the following statement. You make some kind of secret agreement with Italians. What are you doing? You are out there maneuvering your D with the Italians, seeing who's got the biggest D. You are out there stroking your Ds over the Columbus statue. I'm trying to keep Chicago police officers from being shot, and you're trying to get them shot. The lawsuit claims that she went on to say, my D is bigger than yours and the Italians. I have the biggest D in Chicago. This is the mayor. This is the mayor. Again, Lori Lightfoot. Meaning that she had a bigger D than any of the men in the room. The second statue of Columbus was removed the same day the Grand Park statue was taken down, but either way, but the lawyer is suing her because basically he says she hurt his feelings as far as what he was able to do as a man, essentially, by saying that
come on.
That's basically what the nuts and bolts of it is.
Like, dude.
Or just the nuts.
But to me, that's more telling. Like, if you honestly believe that a woman has a bigger penis than you. No matter how tiny your penis is, it's to the point that you're going to file a lawsuit. Like, this speaks greatly to your insecurity, man. It's like, yeah. Okay.
But this person should be the mayor of Chicago, right?
I got a bigger D than all of you.
Yeah, you guys trying to get with the Italians and all this? I got a bigger D than every Italian in town. In fact, I get the biggest D in all of Chicago.
I'm suing.
Okay, Lori.
Random.
Hello, Chris. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola. Chris, welcome to the program. Random question. All right. Let's see here. Okay, what is the dumbest thing, Chris, or the most dangerous thing that you've done on a dare, or just based out of stupidity?
I don't really take dares, so out of stupidity...
I'll do stupidity.
Utter stupidity. I was a second-year skier up at Crystal Mountain, and I took off on the second run of the day and wrapped my arm around myself and went to the hospital.
How did you wrap your arm around yourself?
Well, I didn't see a piece of terrain coming, and I launched, and where I landed was flat, if not uphill a little bit. And it was fresh groomed powder, so they said where my feet landed, I cratered about a foot.
Who says?
In the fresh snow.
The people that saw you absolutely just tear yourself up?
Yeah.
Did you break anything?
Oh, yeah. I broke the heck out of my left humerus, which isn't very funny.
Where is your left humerus located?
You get it?
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, I didn't get it. Sorry.
It's the upper arm in your bone and upper bone in your arm.
Right. Okay. All right.
And
that would be tough.
The surgeon said it was the worst spiral fracture he'd ever seen.
Damn. So how long did it take you to heal?
Like 8 weeks.
All right, that's not the worst.
That's not the worst.
No, but it's still. Is your arm fully functional now?
He's gone.
Okay. All right. Well, the reason we asked, what is the dumbest or most dangerous thing you've ever done? Either just in general or on a dare. I think the dumbest thing I've ever done was at one point in time, I knew the road that I lived on fairly well. And it was a backcountry road. And I was flying home one night. I was in high school, I believe. Probably not doing the best things in the world, but I was late and I did have a curfew. And the deal was that if I didn't get the car back by a certain time, I'd lose my car privilege for the next 2 weeks, which meant that I couldn't go out with a girlfriend that I was seeing. Sure. And that was the most important thing for me at that time because we would go out and have a good time on, Friday.
She had a vagina. She offered to.
Super important.
So I'm going down Tyrone Avery Road. I'm flying. I know this road like the back of my hand. A car is approaching me. I'm still driving at a pretty high rate of speed. I realize that this is the sheriff's deputy car that always sits on that road. And I see him brake as hard as he possibly can. All I see are the brake lights because these are hills, these are turns, and everything else. So I said, to hell with it. And I cut my lights. and I gunned it.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I mean, I gunned it. Because I knew the road.
Yeah.
I was just afraid that when I parked the car, you know what I mean, that I was going to have to brake. So instead, I hooked a hard left, and I knew there's a church down at the bottom of the hill. Well, the church had a parking lot that went around the back. So basically, I screamed the tires in the parking lot of the church, went all the way around, and parked back there by a dumpster, and sat there for about a half an hour. I knew I was going to be busted at home.
Sure.
But I got home, and they were asleep. So I didn't get busted for being late.
You did not get arrested by the officer.
I did not get arrested.
Oh, well
done. I got a ticket. I was thinking driving down the road there without any lights on a curvy, windy country road was not the smartest thing in the world. But
I heard a story earlier today from a coworker of ours who shall remain nameless, VD, and we were talking about gerbils because we found a story, hamsters. I can't either or, but we found a link to a story. This is not a joke. 10 fatal gerbil attacks. Fatal. Anyway, he said, yeah, I grew up with gerbils, and at the time, so he has 2 brothers. He said he's about 11 or 12 at the time. And he prefaced this story by saying, I was a child and I'm not proud, which already makes me laugh because I'm like, okay. So he says, look, we each had a gerbil, and he, at the time, was into model rockets, all right? Mm-hmm. The ones where we actually go outside and launch it.
Where you have like a Testes rocket.
So at first, I started going, oh, no. And he goes, no. We did not tape it to the rocket and launch it. That's what I thought. He goes, no. But, you know, with those rockets, when they hit altitude, a parachute pops out and then drops back
Tries
down.
to save the body.
Correct. So they tied the gerbil to a parachute, and they were indoors. He said it was about 14 steps. We estimated it was about a 15-foot thing. And he goes, we kind of tossed it over the bandage to watch the parachute come out and watch this gerbil land. So how did it work? He's like, nothing like that. This thing just went.
Oh, no.
He said the scream that came out of the gerbil, he could still hear.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, he was uncomfortable. I'm laughing at him, but he was uncomfortable telling it again. He's like, I'm not proud, but he's like, we honestly thought that the parachute from the rocket could support the weight of the gerbil because gerbils are so light. We didn't think the drop was that far. It's 14, 15 feet. For a gerbil, that's the equivalent of falling out like a 9-story building, right? He goes, so we toss it. He's like, the parachute did not unfold. This gerbil just dropped like a bowling ball, smacked into the ground. He said it screamed, and he said, I cannot recreate the scream, but picture like a stuck pig, but make it like 8 octaves higher because it's tiny. It broke its back, and that was the end of the gerbil.
Oh, no. They had to put it down.
I didn't really do the follow-up, but I'm like, okay, don't do that.
Reese, we asked what's the dumbest or most dangerous thing you've done on a dare. Steve-O, you know him from Jackass fame.
Of course.
Has what he calls a delusional vision for how he can end his Jackass persona.
Okay.
So he can transition to stand-up comedy or go to his birth name, Steve Glover. Steve-O wants to have a final Gone Too Far tour where he does different stunts like getting breast implants, getting a penis tattooed over his eyebrow, and having a bullet shot through his open jaw. He said maybe then comedy purists will take him seriously as a stand-up comedian, and he'll be free from being Steve-O of Jackass fame.
Okay. Well, I can think of other things, but, you know.
That's going to be hard. Like, I think you can take him serious as a comedian, but he's still that's what people know him.
He's still Steve.
It's like pressure.
Steve, this is how we know you, man. It's not like you had some dramatic bender. He played the role. It's like you're Steve-O.
Yeah.
Hello, Aaron. Welcome to the men's room.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hola. Doing well, man. Let's see here. What do we got? Okay, since we're talking about being a kid and doing dumb things, what would you say was the worst thing that you did as a kid or a child? Something like VD, where you're not proud of this. What would be like the worst thing you did growing up?
I guess it would be directly VD, the thing you mentioned. It was going with trying to gain footing in the sexual experience realm with someone who had a lot more of it than I did.
Well, that's not a bad thing. I mean,
that's the goal.
You got to stand up and take a swing at the plate, man. You can't watch that third strike go by.
Yeah, the third strike was the VD, as aforementioned.
Okay.
Oh, really? How old were you?
Legally, I probably shouldn't mention any of it, I suppose.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
What form of VD did you get?
The collapse, something with an antibacterial.
Okay, and did you lose your virginity and get this, or had you had sex already?
The first one.
Oh, wow, okay. Man. That's wow.
So you had to go and did you tell your mom or your dad?
I am very, very safe right now and preach that practice. The mom.
And was she understanding or was she upset with you?
She was like, for real? And then she was like, all right, how was it?
And you told her it burns.
Well, no, she was asking more about the thing she didn't have to drive me to the doctor for.
Well, sure.
Figuring out my manhood and whatnot. Sure. Very open mom, I guess.
Okay, well, that's good. You went to the right person.
I got the dad, I think. If I had to guess. My mother, I just know there'd be a conversation. She wouldn't necessarily be disappointed. Look, if you're a parent and you have a teenage boy, just know they are trying to get laid. Most of them will be unsuccessful, but understand that's the guiding force right now. So, Milo, I don't feel like having a conversation with her about it. My dad, I know he would just look at me, laugh at me, shake his head, not a word to be said. We just go to the hospital, get your Z-Pack.
Sure.
And off you go.
Well, you also think to yourself, there is something in the medical community where, as far as what your medical condition is, whatever, that's confidential information between, you and your doctor. When you're a minor, there's a very fine line there.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not sure exactly what happened. I don't know if it was somebody who was in the waiting room. I don't know if it was somebody who worked at the facility. But trust me, the small town lifestyle is not good in these instances when stuff like that goes down.
I've got BD.
Everybody's going to know.
Most people know everybody there. Also, there's another player involved in this who also had to go, and they had to do their own checkup as well. So it could have been from that side. It's still, to this day, I don't really know where it got back to my mom and my dad, but it did. Reese, man, it's the worst thing you did as a kid. South Florida teacher was taken to the hospital last week after she was attacked by a student who was 5 years old, leaving her dazed and unresponsive. The unidentified instructor was found by first responders sitting on the ground against the wall and appearing to be in a faint state, according to the Fort Lauderdale police. And according to a department incident report, she was clearly weak and dazed. She was able to blink and breathe regularly, but at no point was able to vocally respond or show signs of a response.
Again, it's a 5-year-old child.
Troubling incident started when a 5-year-old boy had to be removed from class for throwing things around and flipping chairs. They took him in a cool-down room, and that's when he attacked the teacher. But a 5-year-old kid did that kind of damage to an adult.
And we've been reading, they don't say what he assaulted
happened?
the teacher with, just that he's 5, and that teacher was worse for it.
Your guess is as good as mine. Coming up, our categories, dog parks and hip-hop's biggest earners. You are listening to The Men's Room.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.